And here we go, the third and final part of Spider's game from Beast Wars Season 1. Okay, now, coming up here is a shot that I think will show you kind of reasons why the animation perhaps is kind of laughed at. Look, this shot here, like Tarantulas doesn't quite look like he's on the ground. He kind of looks like he's floating a bit off the ground. I mean, these are things that look like glaring mistakes now, but at the time, it was just an issue of technology and time. I mean, on top of the fact I've already mentioned the vintage, the sort of the 1996 vintage of the Beast Wars. Speaking of vintage, I'm actually drinking wine as I record this this last commentary. So if I get a bit woozy on the details, forgive me. On top of the vintage, this first season of Beast Wars went, I think, for either 22 or 24 episodes. Not sure how many, but it was like a full season. I think it was 24. So you got to produce 24 episodes in a season, CGI, 1996, little things like this, you know. What am I saying? I'm saying employ the principle of charity, you know. For its time, this was pretty kick-ass. That explosion is very clearly an actual real-life explosion, not a CGI explosion. That's been sort of composited into that shot. Again, in terms of story, the destruction of the pod is, you can clearly see the writers doing it because it needs to be done. Because Tarantulas kind of... There are good things and bad things about being able to do these arcs while at the same time doing sort of one-off stories in terms of a continuous storyline overall. And this is one of the bad things here. I mean, I know it now, and perhaps big fans know of it now, because we know how the season ends. Retroactively, we can see this as kind of what I like to call story treading water. If Tarantulas got that pod now, you know, the story would kind of have to progress much quicker now. The fact that the pod gets destroyed in this episode means the writers can squeeze in a few more episodes, sort of tread water a bit. And I don't have an issue with that. The issue is, it's kind of very obvious that that's what's being done. The Predacons already have a stasis pod in the episode Double Jeopardy, where Black Arachnia is introduced. The Predacons got Black Arachnia, and they have her pod. They have the pod. So if there are maximal secrets in the pod, they've already got them. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a little thing, but I need to talk about something in these commentaries, and that's what I picked.
He is the one, the Maximal. Destroy him! Ah, you will burn, Maximal!
This is actually one of the few episodes, I think, where you see a Maximal character get the absolute shit kicked out of him here. Normally they reserve this treatment for the Predacons. And speaking of which... I suppose it was one of those big missile things. It blasts Inferno to pieces, but Megatron is made of sterner stuff. It gets away with just a sort of a abdominal cavity there.
Suggested you might need a lift.
That's pretty gory. Pretty hardcore. Tigatron's tiger face, which becomes his sort of chest plate in robot mode, has a big black eye. And it kind of does look like it's bleeding. I mean, that could just be scoring, but it does look like bleeding to me. Sort of confirming the idea that the organic parts of the Transformers are indeed organic.
Gather up that junk pile and bring it to the base. Then find me those spiders.
It's a little bit annoying to me that Inferno's intro episode results in him being blown to pieces. In all the Maximal intros, they just kind of... They're kind of the ass kickers by the end. I mean, Air Razor... Oh, look, it's a Beast Wars Christmas! I never noticed that before. We're now going to teach Tigatron the true meaning of Christmas.
Feeling better? Extremely. I will return to my post.
Now, Tigatron is a bit of a lone wolf that was kind of established in his intro episode. He doesn't hang around the base like the other Maximals. This episode gives the impression that Airazor hangs around the base more often too.
It wouldn't hurt to visit us now and then, would it?
As evidenced by that line there. However, I think after this episode, you really don't see her at the base that much either. So later on, the impression becomes that both Airazor and Tigatron are kind of the ones who scout around and kind of stay out of the way.
Oh, I must have been insane.
I really enjoyed the relationship that kind of started to brew here between Black Arachnia and Tarantulas. You know, they're both spiders, they're both schemers.
So testy. I meant nothing. We're two of a kind. We should stick together.
It would make no difference if we did. This planet is doomed.
So that's why
A nice cliche dun-dun-dum.
But how?
This kind of, this is a pretty cool revelation,
I can help.
I recall. Learning that the planet they're on is
My lair.
doomed.
At least
Doomed!
we could be a great team. Lunatic.
And here we're about to be treated to a bit of a luxury in Beast Wars. We're going to see, as Tarantulas does his mad scientist routine, a shadow in the background. Shadows are pretty rare in Beast Wars Season 1. I guess they're just more time consuming. So, that was Spider's Game. That could possibly be one of my favorite episodes of this season. Maybe not the favorite, but certainly one of my favorites. I mean, yeah, the only big issue I kind of had with it was that sort of destroying the stasis pod idea, but that's a pretty small gripe. So that's it from me. I'm actually not too sure what I'm going to commentate on next. I'm tossing up between... Well, I got 3 toss-ups, really. It's either going to be an episode of Transformers Animated, an episode of Beast Machines, or an episode of Transformers Prime. Beast Machines is tricky because it's so serialized, but hey, if you have an opinion on which one I should do, please do leave a comment. Thank you very much for listening. This has been Chontoxable.